Hello and welcome to another random mini dungeon video. I've done a couple of these now. A couple of things in the works. I finished the May map and I've started the June one, so I've removed all the gump from the calendar as usual. This month's one will be on goblins, so I'm ready to go with that. Right, let's get on with a random mini dungeon. There's me prompts. Okay, I rolled a 15 to kick off with, which is Dwarven Forge. Okay. First one for the door is a 5, which is runed. Could be interesting. Thinking Minds of Moria here, maybe. Next one for features, we got a Grand Forge and a throne, maybe with a Thane. Okay. Could be fun. For unusual, we got an incomplete project and a drunk dwarf. Okay, now we're cooking. For regular rooms, we got a tool bench, an armor rack, and some riding rams. Okay, and lastly, I still need to learn how to film a D4. A humble door for an exit. Okay, let's get cracking. Okay, first thing I did was I did a little isometric kind of floor plan, and didn't really film it, but you get the idea. For the ruined door, I wanted to do something like the Minds of Moria, but more realistic, I suppose. So instead of drawings of trees, I made actual trees. I've sort of worked along the idea that this is sort of inside a mountain, maybe next to a forest. There's like a keyhole. The door is not super hidden. I kind of like to think that the runes all over it are maybe elven graffiti, like some sneaky elf has run up and just graffitied all over it. But because they're elves, it's beautiful and whimsical, and you know the dwarves probably can't read Elvish, so we don't really know what it says. So yeah, just some trees for some scale and doing some of the details in the cliff face. I was at the UK Games Expo last weekend, so I am still worn out from that. So I decided I was going to try and do something quite simple for this video, but I've since discovered that I don't think I can do anything simple. I always overcomplicate the drawing. Okay, moving inside now, so we're doing a little cutaway to the riding rams, so it makes sense they'd be near the door, eating some hay. Yeah, I just kind of wanted these to be big, powerful things. And we've got a little dwarf kind of walking through carrying some either broken weapons or weapons that maybe they're going to sell on. I wasn't quite sure. But yeah, you know, the rams were good fun. Made sure they all had saddles, prove that they're riding rams, that's their purpose. And they're just getting fed, watered, and they're ready to go. I kind of liked that this was a little alcove to kind of keep it a bit separate from where the dwarves would be working. Kept the stonework quite simple. I knew this could get in danger of being very busy if I wasn't careful, so didn't do too many elaborate kind of carvings on the walls. I kept thinking this is a forge, it's a workshop, it's practical. So let's keep that in mind. I did have to keep telling myself this. But yeah, well, I think we got there in the end. Okay, moving on. I sort of went a bit mad here and just sort of planned the whole kind of forge out, trying to work out how much of it I needed to actually take into account, because I still had a lot of stuff to put in. I moved on to the tool bench. I like the idea of a couple of dwarves working. I find it quite funny that my rough sketches of dwarves look a bit like Captain Caveman, but they don't end up too much caveman-like at the end. So these two dwarves, they're just hammering out some battered weapons. You know, I imagine they're quite grumpy, you know, just getting on with it. And I decided I'd have this one dwarf, kind of like he's discovered like a magical emerald or something, and maybe some shenanigans will follow with that, you know, maybe a bit of chaos, a bit of, who knows, even demonic possession. But yeah, nice. I like putting these little kind of side stories in things. And yeah, constantly keep telling myself, don't go too nuts with the walls, keep them simple, that's what they're there for. I realised I needed to extend this out a little bit if I was going to fit this into the same format as the others. And then I started to work on the Grand Forge, which looks proper weird to begin with, but I had this idea that maybe it was in the shape of like a dwarven deity, and there'd be an anvil in front of it for whoever works. The pipe at the top, I kind of thought would be where they pipe lava in, so perhaps somewhere else in the mountain there's like a deep reservoir of lava. And then I just sort of started populating the rest of the room with stuff I needed. So I had the armor axe, the Thane on the throne, the drunk dwarf, which I'm drawing now, and then the big thing in the middle is the unfinished project. So I like the idea this is like a clockwork knight, maybe from the Wizard's Tower, the video before, that just needs fixing or is a bit unfinished. And the dwarf is come out of that humble door, which is the exit that I imagine leads into a tavern somewhere, and he's got a bit of a shock seeing this great big mechanical thing in his way. So yeah, it all went fairly straightforward, I suppose. I was quite pleased with the mechanical monstrosity thing. I don't know what to call it. I think it is a clockwork knight. I think that's what I'm going to call it, a clockwork knight. And yeah, I want the dwarf to be a bit rowdy, like, he finished his shift and he's kind of taken a wrong turn and ended up back in the workshop. I imagine dwarf tunnels are quite hard to navigate, but, I'm not a dwarf, so I don't know. And yeah, those little dots and cracks on the ground really helped to sell it. So this sort of dwarf here hammering this sword, I like to think that maybe he is the kind of foreman, he's like the most important craftsperson in this space. And I was really putting off doing the forge for some reason, even though I knew what I was going to do. I wanted it to be kind of like a dwarvish face with the mustache making like a grate, which you had this white hot lava inside. And I had all these pipes coming into it, so yeah, once I got the pipes and the kind of eyes in, I felt a bit better. I removed one of the suits of armour because I realised you would need something to either cool it down or heat up the forge, so I put these big bellows in next to the coal bucket. In hindsight, I'm not sure what good coal's going to do if you've got a bunch of lava in there, but yeah, who knows, maybe they don't always have lava to keep the forge going. I felt there needed to be a little kind of hand chain for particularly short dwarves who couldn't reach the top of the bellows. And then the Thane, I kind of like the idea that maybe the Thane got that position kind of as a reward for something, but actually it's not a very good reward because he constantly has a headache listening to all the hammering and everything else. But he just has to sit on his throne and supervise what's going on, when really he'd much rather be outside riding his ram and probably fighting goblins or something like that, so yeah. And the armour just on the stand there, maybe it's never been worn, maybe it's the Thane's armour and he's really wanting to put it on and go out and cause some trouble. But yeah, the drawing I think took, all in all, maybe an hour, maybe a little bit more. All went to plan. I think because I was so tired, I was maybe a bit less precious about things. Didn't overthink, even though it ended up being quite complex. I didn't tend to overthink too much with it. And then I go in with the big black pen. I love this pen, and it does smell amazing. I keep saying it smells amazing. It's probably terrible for me. And yeah, this just kind of brings the attention to the actual things within the forge. So yeah, pretty happy with the drawing overall. I don't think I had too much to fix, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So yeah, just finishing off all this dark area. I left space for my little weird signature thing there. and yeah, then we can look at the scan. So this is the scan, fairly straightforward, rubbed most of the pencil out, and then in terms of fixing, I just put it into the same kind of dimensions as the previous mini dungeons and made things darker. Then the part I love, which is where I had my 3 tones of grey, which really brings it to life. Got a good idea of what was what, and added my base colours, so I knew I wanted outside to be quite cold, and before you get to the forge a little bluish, and then the actual mainstay of everything to be very warm. And then I add my effects, which is really just a glow around things, putting a glow around that chaotic emerald. And yeah, that's essentially it. I added the title, and there we have it. Our mini dungeon, our Dwarven Forge, plenty going on, good fun. So yeah, ultimately very happy with this. Hope you enjoyed this video. There'll be another one coming soon. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one, folks. Take it easy. Bye now.